Welcome to the second season of the Santam Insure Your Money Bootcamp with me, Maya Fisher-French.
And me, Mapalo Makhu. We invite you to join in on our money conversations and use these discussions as both motivation and information to kickstart your own personal financial journey.
And today we have a very special guest in the form of Thokozani, who was, Mapalo, one of your mentees from last year. And I just remember she wasn't like an ordinary participant. This woman was what Mapalo described as a budgeting superhero.
A superhero indeed, Maya. You know, unlike most people who, when they get their money, they kind of wonder, where did it disappear to? Not Thokozani. She knows and can account for every single rand, be it a bonus or her salary every single month.
So we're going to find out from Thokozani how she did it, how she stays motivated, and how she stays on track. So welcome, Thokozani.
Thank you, Maya. Thank you, Mapalo.
Thokozani, let's start before the budgeting moment, before the aha moment. Like, what was your relationship with money like before you started taking budgeting seriously?
My relationship with money before I started taking it seriously was very bad, depressing. I did not look forward to payday. I just knew that after 2 days, I wouldn't be able to know where my money went to. My family or my kids and my sisters knew just this one. I was known as the person who doesn't have money. So anytime the kids would say, want anything, they would, no, Thokozani doesn't have money. But she goes and works, but she says she doesn't have money. So it was very bad.
It's incredible. So we've gone from this to you being a budgeting superhero. What made you commit to getting your finances in order? What was the wake up one morning and decide I'm going to do this?
I think it's my attitude towards money. And I had always told myself, I think that I don't have money. And then when I applied for the budgeting course here with you and Maya, and Mapalo sent us the forms to complete. And all I could see was, I have no time to complete this. But I actually changed my attitude towards money and how I looked at money and how it can work and how I can save.
100% Thokozani. And I remember you were so fearful of that first meeting.
Yes, I was.
Right? And for me, I just want you to talk to people around, yes, you were overwhelmed. And a lot of people feel quite overwhelmed. How did you get over that hurdle? And also, what do you say to someone who just says, I don't have money, so what is the point of budgeting? Or I tried it, it's not working. What pushed you to continue budgeting until you got it right? Because, I mean, we were talking the other day and you were telling me, oh, no, for the bonus, this is where it is, and this is what I've done, and I know this is what I needed to do in the next 2 years or 3 years.
Like I said, the attitude actually helped me. And I got to look at how I'm being perceived and how everybody acts around me. And then it said to me, when you change your attitude towards anything, you find the result that is different. I think I put it through with regards to my training for running. Every single time you want to achieve a better time with whatever kilometers that you were running for today, tomorrow you try again. So I just looked at it and said, you know what, let me try something different. And then I also looked at how family feels, because it does get depressing when somebody comes to you and says, could I have this and this? And then the first thing you say is you don't have money. And I also remember our parents, when we were growing up, when we asked for something, they always said, we don't have money. And I'm like, no, I cannot repeat that. We don't need that in the family. Let me try and change how I look at things. And funny enough, it just worked for me.
Yeah. And you showed up. You showed up. And Maya, for me, it brings me to our very first episode around emotions and money and how you have to change your attitude first. And that happened. And she was able to say, all right, I don't want to go on the rest of the year feeling like this. So can you tell us, what is your budgeting process? Are you an Excel spreadsheet type of person? Do you use good old pen and paper, or do you use apps? How do you go about your budgeting?
Funny enough, I actually do all those three. So when I have the time with an app, I would use the app, because FNB has now got us an app where we can limit with regards to different categories of, that is your spend on food, gym, clothing, groceries. And then when I'm not on the app, then while I'm sitting and not doing anything, funny enough, I just think about, there's this much, what needs to happen to it, where does it go? So that that extra thinking of knowing that I can do my budgeting any time of the month, restructure any time of the month with any method that I use. So I use the Excel spreadsheet on the laptop, and I use pen and paper. Just before I sleep, I would go through the day as to where's the money gone to. That's how I can actually remember where every cent goes to. And then also the app also lets me know.
Mapalo, you have a pen and paper. So I must tell you, if Mapalo and I meet for coffee, she brings out a pen and paper and she fills it in. So you're a big pen and paper person.
I am, Maya, because for me, it just brings in the intentionality. How much am I spending? And for me, I always say the net worth calculation is my favorite calculation. So I have it in my bedroom, right? So it's a constant reminder.
You have it in your bedroom, like up on the wall or what?
On my wardrobe.
On your wardrobe?
Yes.
Your net asset value?
Yes.
I love that.
So when I wake up, I'm like, oh, okay, this is where I am and this is the goal. So as I go about my day, yes, I do enjoy myself. We do go for coffees. We do go for breakfast. But I will write, okay, this is how much I've spent. And in terms of the category of going out, this is where I am. So I think it's about intentionality. It doesn't have to be tedious if you're not that type of person. But it's just the awareness. What am I spending my money on? Because there's nothing more that I would hate to go back at the end of the day and be like, oh, I shouldn't have spent money on that.
Yeah. I sometimes have that, Mapalo. But Mapalo and I have to tell you, Thokozani, Mapalo and I share a very similar weakness, and that's traveling. When we go on holiday, all of those things just do not stick anymore.
I'm not the same person on holiday.
It's something of the time zone, I
Yes,
think. It affects
yes.
our brain. But I find I use what used to be called 22/7. It's now Vault 22.
Yeah.
So I find that very good because that collates all of my bank accounts, credit card, debit cards, investments all into one. But also the spreadsheet. I love my Excel spreadsheet as well. If I get a bonus, you can see how it's all like broken up, or I pay myself a bonus, broken up and analyze and how it's going to go. So I like what you're saying, because I think it's not one only form that we use. We use what works for us, and often a combination of it. But what I want to understand from you is like how, if you're somebody like Mapalo with her zero-based budgeting, which means that she's at every single cent accounted for. What happens when there's an unexpected expense? How do you, because, oh my goodness, we have enough of those every month. How do you manage that?
I think I've also put that part in where I've classed it into the good unexpected expense and the bad unexpected expense.
Oh.
So the bad unexpected expense would be the shopping, obviously, when you go on holiday, just like you mentioned.
Oh, you mean the impulsive unexpected
Yes,
expense?
the impulsive one. Then when you get back at home, you're like, do I really need this or not? And then the good one would be on if your car needs to be repaired, right? So I have an emergency fund. That's where I pull the money from to help me recover when I've had a bad unexpected expense. And sometimes it doesn't cover it all, but I just take it in and I'm like, it's got to be done, and we'll see how we'll get along throughout. And I think the other thing that also helps me is I've got a bit of a side hustle as well. So that money there really goes to the really, really big unexpected ones. And it really, really stays that I don't actually touch it.
I love this. I want to pick this up with the side hustle, because we've spoken about this before, where people have side hustles, but then it just becomes part of lifestyle. And they're not really benefiting from that additional income that's coming from that side hustle. And I think it's so fantastic that you use that. It's almost got a purpose. So that side hustle can either be, for some people, it's paying off debt, and that's what they're going to do. They're going to accelerate their debt repayments. For other people, it could be building an emergency fund. For others, it could be investing towards the future for their retirement. And I mean, I think that is, for me, a really powerful way to use your
100%. And to your point, Maya, a lot of the times it just becomes part of your lifestyle. Now you're eating out more. Now you're going out more. And we had another mentee, a guy from last year, and he did exactly that. He had an Uber, he had a Bolt, and he would do these trips over the weekend, and he never knew where the money went. I said, let's start accounting for it. And he was able to pay one of his debts within 3 months. 3 months, when he realized that actually I do not know what I've been doing with this fund. So very, very good point.
And I also want to, because we're talking about allocating money towards emergency fund, towards investments, I think another really important part of budgeting, we're talking about spending here, but it's also investing.
Yeah.
And that has to be part of your budget. And I'm thinking about Baran, who's one of my mentees last year. And we created such a wonderful strategy for him because he was actually living within his means, but what he needed to do was build his investments. And we came up with a diversified investment plan. So the one was putting money, so he immediately put money into his emergency fund.
Mm-hmm.
He put some extra money into his mortgage. He put some money into his tax-free savings account, and then he topped up his retirement fund. So he had a goal. So unlike, you know how you categorize your spending, I'm going to have groceries, electricity, water. He actually had that for his investments. It was X amount into emergency, X amount into bond, X amount into retirement, tax-free savings account. And I think also we forget sometimes that that's also part of the budgeting process.
Yeah, and that's why we do what we do, right? You want to pay off the debt so that you can start investing and building your wealth. But Thokozani, I want to talk about, you are a budgeting superhero, but don't you feel some pressure from family, call it black tax, or family who come to you and say, hey, this is what's happening. Can you lend me some money? Or even just friends. How do you deal with pressure? Because it does impact your finances as well.
Yes, the pressure is there, no doubt about it. And I remember when I first started working, my sister was the one who was always coming to me and asking for, can I borrow this? Can I borrow that? While she was still working. And to her, she said, you look like you've got all your money problems sorted out. You don't have any issues. And I'm like, no, I do. But I just know how to tackle the monies. And with friends, yes, I'd be honest with you, I do have friends that come up and say, I'm short with this and this and that. And then I just try and teach them as well that let's try and have a savings account. Like for me, I've got the automatic saver when you've bought something with FNB.
Or banker change.
Banker
Banker
change,
change,
yeah.
yes, the banker change. So that helps a lot as well. I do sometimes give in into the pressure, but later on, when they bring back the money, then it is at least I have helped somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you ever have, I suppose it's so difficult, Mapalo, where do you draw the line between sort of being lecturing people and helping people, but at the same time you're witnessing them? I must say I had an incident recently where somebody also was telling me she was about her hair and she was having her hair done and all this stuff and everything, and then came the next week and said, I'm short on groceries. And I'm like, where does the planning come in?
Yes.
So how do we don't want to be judgmental, but at the same time, you're doing the hard work, right? You're
yes,
budgeting,
yes.
you're making sure you know where your money's going. And if somebody else doesn't want to have that discipline and then comes to you for money, there is a tension for me.
There definitely is. There is. And at times there is where I say no, especially when I know of a friend who has this luxury items that she likes. Starts with that first before she does the necessities. Then it would be a no area. And
I think it's about having boundaries also, being able to view, like you're saying, okay, is it a need or is it a luxury?
want?
What about your planning? And is it a constant behavior that I'm getting from you?
Yeah.
Then being able to say, you know what, from now on, I'll not be able to help with this.
I think there's a one-off kind of like I'm in a crisis, something happened, that's very different to now becoming a repetitive sort of
Offender.
behavior. Repetitive behavior. But it's difficult. I mean, I find those relationships challenging to navigate without. But you also have 2 children, and this is also part of, it's one thing to say no to your family, very hard. And I know I have 2 sons to say no to your children. Do you have a fun fund? Do you have a way of enjoying your time with your children?
definitely I do. What we do is go out. But sometimes it's like on a strict budget. So previously, every time they had said, like I said in the beginning, I was known as Thokozani doesn't have money. So they'd ask for something. Can we go out during the holidays with this? And then I don't have money. But now it has become so easy since I've been doing the budgeting that, I'm flowing with them. So but they know that we've got a plan. So it's like, can we go out this weekend so during the school days, we'd go out together, and then with holidays, obviously their cousins and friends are over, then we've got that amount saved as well. So we do have a fun time.
But I think that's also so important that you're sharing that with your children, because I think there's nothing worse than to say to a child, we don't have money. That we spoke about financial trauma in our first podcast, the bad messaging. Whereas you say, guys, guess what? I have a fun fund. What will we do with this? It changes the narrative completely.
Completely, Maya. And I think it brings me nicely to my second question on how has budgeting not only changed the way you view your finances, but mindset and your lifestyle altogether, and considering also your kids.
Yes, it has changed a lot. And I've gone more into, like you've mentioned, Maya, the investment part. I never looked at that. Now I'm venturing into investing and trying to see how the money that I get can help me 2 years down the line. Because I was talking to Mapalo the other day that I've got the bonus. I need it to help me in 2 years' time because they're going to high school. And I don't want to, I said to Mapalo, I've reached that point where I don't want to take out the school fees from my salary anymore. It needs to come from a fund whatsoever. And now that you've mentioned my kids, the other day she asked me, Thokozani, do we have a trust fund?
She's the one, of course, you remember. Mapalo told me the story. Isn't it wonderful that she's thinking, do we have a trust
She
must feel like she's obviously really connecting and listening and thinking about money. But we are seeing this with the younger generation. Definitely. We're seeing such a shift. And I think it is because the level of financial education has just increased so much, and they're seeing their parents obviously trying to figure this stuff out. But what a wonderful conversation. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Great.
And I love, Maya, I just want to draw attention also to saying when you get your finances right, you're ultimately doing it for the rest of your family, because the language used to be, we don't have. And now the language, even for the kids, is changing. It's talking about trust funds. Perhaps they don't know exactly what they do, but now it's a conversation that they can have.
You're talking about building wealth with your children and not constantly fighting for money. And that is just such an incredible shift. And I'm also just thinking that, you're using your bonus to plan for the future. How many people use their bonuses to pay back last year's debt? You've shifted into the future. You've shifted into growth and abundance. It's really, really amazing. Maybe we could just end off with sort of maybe one piece of advice. What would you give to the listeners now who are listening saying, we want to become Thokozani?
In running, when we're about to finish a race, we say, don't look like your problems. So I would say to them, think positively. Don't look and don't even think about that, you've got problems such as money. Make the problem and take the problem, find a solution. There's definitely a solution that you can find. It can not always be 100% of the solution, but as a starting point, it can start with 5 minutes. So I treat money the same way that I treat life. I get up in the morning, I brush my teeth, I have to decide which clothes I've got to wear. So with money as well, you have to decide where the money is going to go.
Love it. Absolutely love it. And I can see why you called her a superhero, because I think it's just amazing. And I am so in awe of the shift that you did from, no money Thokozani to being a budgeting superhero. And if Thokozani can do it, anyone can do it.
Absolutely, Maya. And I hope people will draw inspiration from her. And I love how she makes it practical. Like it is part of life. Let it be part of your life. Every single day you're making decisions. Are you going to make decisions that are going to improve your financial life or not? It's all in the decisions and the actions we take.
And it is up to you. And for those of you listening, in our next episode, we're going to be looking at taking on some of those bigger financial budgeting issues like buying a home. How do you start budgeting for to becoming a homeowner? So that's going to be our next conversation, and looking forward to sharing that with you.
100%. See you next time.